Ernest Lee Thomas has been a working actor since the 1970s, with his first roles being in The Jeffersons and Cooley High. He portrayed recurring characters in television series as Roger Raj Thomas in What's Happening, and its follow-up, What's Happening Now?, before going on a downward spiral with drugs. The show's cancellation after 3 seasons led him to fall into a deep depression, which he overcame after becoming homeless. He has also starred as Kai Lubu in the miniseries Roots, as Mr. Omar in Everybody Hates Chris, and played guest roles in Martin and The Steve Harvey Show. While working on The Martin Show, Thomas had the privilege to work closely with legendary actor Martin Lawrence and learn how he operates, finally concluding that the screen darling is being controlled by certain people in Hollywood. Thomas, the Gary, Indiana native, was raised in Compton, California. After graduating high school, he enrolled in the American Academy of Dramatic Arts to embark on his acting career. Thomas later graduated with his bachelor's degree of science in sociology and psychology from Indiana State University, meaning he can easily know and learn when someone is being manipulated. Martin Lawrence is no stranger to aficionados of comedy. A fixture on film and television screens since the early 1990s, Lawrence's lengthy roster of screen credits includes his 90s-era Fox sitcom, Martin, as well as a string of big-screen blockbusters. These include co-starring with Will Smith in the Bad Boys franchise, Big Mama's House, and its various sequels, starring alongside Eddie Murphy in the dramedy Life, voicing a bear named Boog in the animated hit Open Season, serving as a member of the ensemble cast in the outrageous farce Death at a Funeral, and many more. As his legions of fans well know, Lawrence got his start as a stand-up comic, and he's returned to the stage on numerous occasions. Since his first stand-up special in 1991, he's also delivered Martin Lawrence, You So Crazy in 1994, Martin Lawrence Runteldat in 2002, and Martin Lawrence Doin' Time in 2016. He has also made headlines for this often tumultuous personal life, which hit a zenith in the late 1990s, with a series of scandals so lengthy that the tabloids could barely keep up with them. Lawrence, however, is nothing if not a survivor, weathering those considerable storms and emerging in the 2020s as a weathered showbiz veteran who stood the test of time, well on his way to becoming an elder statesman of comedy. His story is long and winding, and his accomplishments are many. Martin Lawrence was born in 1965 in Frankfurt, Germany, where his father was stationed while serving in the U.S. military. One of 6 children, Lawrence was just 8 years old when his parents divorced, with his father leaving the family. His mother took Lawrence and his siblings stateside when she returned to the U.S. to make a fresh start, taking on 2 jobs to support her children. "My family didn't have any money, and I'm the 4th of 6 kids. It was all on my mom," Lawrence recalled in an interview with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. "We lived in government Section 8 housing. The miracle was my mom never gave up. She always found a way to put food on the table." Speaking about their shared childhood for a biography episode, Lawrence's brother Robert Lawrence also looked back on how much their mother struggled to make ends meet. "We had our rough times," he confirmed. "We just didn't have material things, but we had love, so I guess that helped a lot," their mother, Clora Lawrence, added. After Lawrence's comedy career took off, the screen star thanked his mom for all her sacrifices by purchasing a home for her in California, where he was now living. "Buying her that house was a better feeling than buying my house," he told the Review-Journal. "It was the best feeling ever." As a teenager growing up in a tough neighborhood, Martin Lawrence realized he'd need to learn how to defend himself. As biography noted, he gravitated toward boxing, training at Maryland's Sugar Ray Leonard Boxing Center. He quickly displayed aptitude and, by age 15, had become an amateur athletic union champion. The actor has referenced his short-lived boxing career in his stand-up comedy routines. During one performance, he joked about how his strategy of constantly moving, making himself a difficult target for an opponent. This, he joked, led his coach to come up with a saying about him: "One thing about Martin, he ain't gonna get hit, and he ain't gonna hit nobody." The actor's luck ran out when he took a powerful punch to the face during a match. When his mother got her first look at her bruised and swollen son, she made him give up boxing then and there. Her decision may have closed one door, but it wound up opening another when the teenager began channeling his energy into comedy instead. In fact, Lawrence told Variety that the skills he had learned from boxing had become useful as he pursued a career in comedy. "Boxing gave me the training, the consistency, and most importantly, the focus," he said. "To study your craft, to want to be good at your craft, and to be excellent at it, you can reach them at heights and just be the best that you could be." His journey from seedy comedy clubs to international stardom didn't happen overnight. While developing his stand-up chops on stage, he had to take other jobs to support himself. One of these was a stint as a telemarketer. During a 2017 appearance on The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, Lawrence reminisced about his days as a TSR, aka telephone sales representative, selling maintenance agreements to customers who had just purchased appliances from Sears. He never made a single sale, but did wind up forging a friendship with co-workers in nearby cubicles who were also destined for stardom, Cheryl James and Sandra Denton, who would go on to become rap duo Salt and Pepa. "And that was cool because I used to mess with them every day," Lawrence recalled. "Wouldn't let them get their work done. I was always flirting and everything." Interviewed by the Riverfront Times, Denton confirmed that she did indeed work alongside the future comedy star, recalling how they were all dreaming of stardom. "Yeah, it was us," she said, adding that other co-workers in the office included Kid and Play, aka Christopher Reed, and Christopher Martin. "It's so crazy because we all sat next to each other, and Martin would say, 'Whoever gets their break first has to put the other one on.' We got our break first, so he used to open up for us with his comedy." While co-workers Salt and Pepa landed their big break first, Martin Lawrence's came in the latter half of the 1980s, when his relentless performance in New York City comedy clubs paid off with a chance to appear on the TV series Star Search. The show, something of a precursor to American Idol and the competition series that came in its wake, introduced performers in various categories that ranged from singers to comedians to spokesmodels. The performers were evaluated by a panel of judges, with acts eliminated until only one remained to win that season's competition. Lawrence clearly made an impression on viewers with his hilarious routines, including a relatable riff about relationships. After making it to the final round, he was ultimately defeated, narrowly missing out on being named that season's comedy champ. His loss, however, disguised a silver lining. Television executives had been watching his progress on the show and thought he'd be ideal for a new TV series in development. As a result, the young comedian was cast as Maurice Warfield in the 1987 sitcom What's Happening Now? When that show was canceled after its first season, Lawrence was able to parlay his first ever screen credit into further acting work, including roles in the hit films Do the Right Thing and House Party. In 1992, he was tapped to star in his own eponymous Fox sitcom, Martin, the role that paved the way for the successful big screen comedy career that would follow. It was during his first gig that Lawrence met Ernest. The same year that Martin Lawrence debuted his sitcom Martin, he was also tapped to host Def Comedy Jam. Created by rap mogul Russell Simmons, the HBO series proved to be a hugely influential platform for up-and-coming Black comics, launching the careers of a staggering array of future stars. A list that includes the likes of Dave Chappelle, Tiffany Haddish, Cheryl Underwood, Tracy Morgan, Leslie Jones, and many others. The series also shone the spotlight on Lawrence, who dazzled viewers with his stand-up comedy skills at the opening of every episode. "When I look back, I was a young kid and I was fearless, so I just wanted to seize the moment every chance I got to get on stage," Lawrence told Entertainment Weekly of being the first host of Def Comedy Jam. "I tried to have fun and make it as big as possible." In a somewhat stodgy review, New York Times television critic John J. O'Connor praised Lawrence's Def Comedy Jam hosting skills. Mr. Lawrence, now the star of the Fox sitcom Martin, presides over these enormously energized, ribald sessions with unflagging aplomb, even as he tweaks parts of the Black entertainment scene, O'Connor wrote. Lawrence only hosted for that seminal first season, but set the tone for the hosts that would succeed him. By 1994, Lawrence's star was on the rise when he was asked to host Saturday Night Live. In his monologue, the comedian shocked producers, the audience, and presumably NBC censors when he went rogue in an unapproved routine about women with poor below-the-belt hygiene. While the monologue was heavily censored for the West Coast rebroadcast, the Los Angeles Times reported that NBC received more than 200 telephone complaints from offended viewers who'd watched it live. As a result, the Times reported he'd been barred from appearing on NBC. Despite the controversy, Lawrence felt the furor would only be beneficial for his own personal brand. "I feel good. I'm getting all this publicity, and I didn't even hurt anybody," he told the Times. "I haven't done anything wrong, so I don't need to apologize to anybody. I'm a comedian and I make people laugh. My fans know me, and they're not surprised by anything I say. And right now, a lot more people are asking, 'Who is Martin Lawrence?'" While the actor was never invited back to SNL, he refuted the characterization that he'd been permanently banned by the show. "I'm not banned from SNL," he told the radio show The Breakfast Club in 2020. "They banned me from NBC at the time for a minute, but then they realized the way it went down wasn't what they thought, and then network president Warren Littlefield sent me an apology letter." From a career perspective, Martin Lawrence was at the absolute top of his game in the mid-1990s. However, he'd also begun to exhibit some odd behavior in public, such as the time in May 1996 when he was spotted in the middle of a busy Los Angeles intersection, a loaded handgun in his pocket while acting erratically toward motorists. As the New York Daily News reported, he was picked up by police officers. "I always told everybody they'd be coming for me someday," Lawrence was quoted as saying when police arrived on the scene. "He was like a madman," an eyewitness said. Lawrence's rep blamed his behavior on dehydration and exhaustion and claimed he'd neglected to take prescribed medication and suffered a seizure. A few months later, the Los Angeles Times reported he was arrested and charged with a misdemeanor when a gun was found in his carry-on luggage at an airport. Prior to those occasions, recalled the Washington Post, Lawrence became so violent while taping an episode of Martin in July 1995 that he was admitted to a hospital when he couldn't be restrained and was later found wandering in the street while wearing his pajamas. Further problems, noted People magazine, included his then-wife alleging violent and unhinged behavior toward her and the time he punched out a guy on the dance floor of a nightclub who he claimed had bumped into him while dancing. In 1996, the comic filed for divorce to end his marriage to his wife, Patricia. As the Washington Post reported, she'd won a restraining order against him due to her allegations that he threatened her with M. In her divorce filing, she claimed he called her on the telephone and told her, "You'll pay for what you've done to my family." The following day, she alleged, his threats escalated. "I'm going to have to K you," he told her, she claimed. "I'm going to have to K your family." She subsequently received a note, which hadn't been signed, slipped under her door. "I will do anything to have you back," the note read before taking a chilling turn, reading, "If I can't have you, then I will make sure that no one has you. So come home now. If you don't, then I will have to do what I have to do." The note concluded, "I love you to the death." Patricia's divorce lawyer, Suzanne Harris, placed at least some of the blame for the situation on members of Lawrence's team, who saw him as a meal ticket and not a troubled man in the midst of a mental health crisis. "We think he's not getting the help he needs," Harris told People magazine. "There are people making money in his coterie who are more interested in seeing the cash flow continue than in seeing him get better." Around the same time that Martin Lawrence's marriage to wife Patricia was imploding, a similar situation was unfolding with his make-believe TV wife on the set of Martin. In January 1997, the Los Angeles Times reported that Tisha Campbell, Lawrence's Martin co-star, announced she was quitting the show due to intolerable conditions after walking off the set the previous November and refusing to return. HBO, which produced the series for Fox, filed for a temporary restraining order that would force her back to work. She countersued, alleging sexual battery and sexual harassment. That suit was settled out of court, and Campbell and Lawrence were able to bury the hatchet long enough to film the final episodes before the series ended that May. At the time, Variety reported that Lawrence insisted the show had concluded because he wanted it to. In a 2020 interview with GQ, Lawrence dismissed the narrative that his behavior had anything to do with the show's cancellation as BS, telling the magazine, "I just decided to end it. People said that I got canceled, but that wasn't the case. I decided to just leave the show," he explained. Campbell subsequently appeared on the daytime show The Talk, where she was asked about Lawrence's remarks. The actress noted that she couldn't comment because of a confidentiality agreement, but implied Lawrence's spin was inaccurate. "But what I can say is, I was actually kind of shocked," Campbell said via Essence. The actor's trouble didn't end with the cancellation of his much-acclaimed show. Following the demise of Martin, Lawrence's movie career was hotter than ever when he experienced a serious health crisis. As CNN reported in August 1999, Lawrence was attempting to shed some weight for an upcoming movie role and unwisely decided to go jogging while wearing numerous layers of clothing beneath a nylon jogging suit. It didn't end well. Lawrence collapsed from a heat stroke and was rushed to hospital. According to the report, his body temperature had soared to 107 degrees when paramedics delivered him to the hospital, and he was placed on a respirator to aid his breathing. The Los Angeles Times subsequently reported that the actor had fallen into a coma. He was in very critical and unstable condition when he arrived, a hospital spokesperson said. After 3 days, Lawrence emerged from his coma and wound up making a full recovery. Interviewed by ABC News in 2002, Lawrence admitted that the experience served as a life-changing wake-up call. "I felt like, in the coma, God laid me down and woke me up to be able to see a lot clearer, and it humbled me a great deal, you know?" Lawrence said. Years later, during an appearance on Conan, Lawrence jokingly offered some advice to viewers. "So please, I recommend, do not run in a plastic suit," he said. "I picked the hottest day of the summer, and next thing I know, I was sleeping on the ground." The big screen success that the actor experienced in the 1990s and 2000s began to fizzle out in the 2010s. In search of a project that would land him back on top, he latched onto a television project that would partner him with Frasier alum Kelsey Grammer. Grammer and Lawrence were set to play lawyers of very different temperaments who butt heads when they wind up working together. According to a 2013 report in The Hollywood Reporter, Lionsgate TV Group president described the multi-camera comedy as having a vibe similar to The Odd Couple, or Richard Pryor teaming with Gene Wilder in the film Silver Streak. The series was ultimately picked up by FX under an unusual deal in which 10 episodes would be produced and aired. If the episodes surpassed an agreed-upon ratings threshold, that would trigger the production of 90 more episodes, bringing the total to 100, which would provide enough episodes to sell the show into syndication, where the real money would be made. That series, called Partners, made its debut in 2014. Ratings for the premiere, noted Variety, was solid but not spectacular. Subsequent episodes fared far worse, with Deadline reporting that viewership numbers dropped precipitously, becoming lower by the week. At the end of those 10 episodes, the threshold wasn't met, and Partners bit the dust, and he has created everlasting relationships with fellow Hollywood greats. Back in 1992, Lawrence was cast in a supporting role in Eddie Murphy's comedy, Boomerang. When they reteamed in 1999, Lawrence shared top billing with Murphy for the 1999 film, Life. More than 2 decades later, Lawrence's association with Murphy wound up extending beyond being co-stars when, in June 2021, Murphy's son, Eric, shared a photo on Instagram in which he's seen posing with Lawrence's daughter, Jasmine. "Head over heels in love with you," he wrote in the caption. The two continued to appear together on social media, and in early 2022, she told In Touch Weekly that they met through her uncle, not their famous fathers. During a 2022 appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Lawrence confirmed the two were still dating, but insisted he and Murphy hadn't discussed the matter. "We haven't talked about it," Lawrence said. "We kind of just stay out of their business and let them do their own thing and respect their thing." Lawrence was also hopeful that Murphy would foot the bill. "I'm going to try to get Eddie to pay for it," he joked. Murphy, however, was not down with that. Speaking with Canada's E-Talk, he insisted that if their kids ever did walk down the aisle, Lawrence had better get out his checkbook. "If it goes down, Martin is paying, and the wedding better be wonderful," he said with his trademark laugh. When Lawrence first began performing stand-up, his comedy debut didn't exactly bode well for a successful future. "The first time I ever got on, I bombed badly, and I thought I would never get on stage again," he recalled in an interview with Variety. While crashing and burning on stage could easily have crushed his dreams, Lawrence demonstrated the tenacity that would propel him to stardom. "But I knew I was better than that," he explained. Rather than set aside his dream, the actor instead became a student of comedy, immersing himself in the routines of his stand-up idols. When he built up the courage to return on stage, this time he was ready. Despite the hours and hours he's spent in front of audiences over the years since then, stage fright has been a constant companion. In a 2016 interview, while speaking with Esquire about returning to stand-up for his first special in 14 years, he admitted he still gets anxious prior to stepping on stage. "Before every show, I'm nervous," Lawrence said, but he explained that anxiety now serves to sharpen him. "But that's all right because they're good nerves," he added. "They keep me focused, and they keep me in line to do what I gotta do." Added Lawrence, "I take my nerves and I bottle it up, and I channel that energy, and I go up there and do what I'm supposed to do." In 2023, more than 30 years after he burst onto the comedy scene, Lawrence received his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. On hand at the ceremony were former co-stars Tashina Arnold, who was a series regular on Martin, and Lynn Whitfield, Lawrence's co-star in the 1996 film A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. Also attending to pay tribute were two of his contemporaries from the world of comedy, Steve Harvey and Tracy Morgan. The latter honored Lawrence in a speech, praising his influence on the generations of comedians who followed the trail he'd blazed. "In my generation, when you say Martin, you don't have to say his last name," Morgan said, as reported by ABC 7 Eyewitness News. Everybody knows who you are talking about. My parents had Red Fox and Sanford and Son. We had Martin Lawrence and The Martin Show. After the ceremony, Lawrence admitted the whole thing had been hugely emotional for him. I've been crying all week, so I figured if I had my glasses on today, maybe y'all won't see the tears, he joked, referring to the dark sunglasses he was wearing. But they're most definitely tears of joy. Despite all the ups and downs, the legendary comic is still doing his thing, with this year expected to be big for him. As you may be aware, Will Smith and Lawrence are back in action for Bad Boys, Ride or Die, and in the fourth installment of the franchise, the duo tackles heavy subjects in a lighthearted manner. Leading as Detective Mike Lowry and Marcus Miles Burnett, respectively, the on-screen cops face the pressures of physical perfection after years of gunfights, car chases, hand-to-hand combat, and foot chases. This film also sees the bad boys navigating mental health, spirituality, and overall well-being with topics including grief, anxiety, and more, all through a comical lens. It's a popcorn movie. It's fun. It's exciting. You laugh, you cheer, but really at the core of it, you're laughing. But there are some powerful concepts in there, detailed Smith to Vibe magazine. What Mike is struggling with and how he makes his way out of that, I just love being able to touch on those concepts and ideas, like mental health and then connect it to spirituality, all in a way that's fun, so it is not getting hit over the head. I love being able to do that in a summer blockbuster. I'm all for it, agreed Lawrence after affirming his real-life faith in God and eagerness for his character's spiritual awakening. The pair continued to discuss their journey from the initial Bad Boys film to where they are today and how working together for decades has impacted their journeys. Respect, love, explains Lawrence when asked how he and his co-star foster their relationship. This dude, for 30 years, I've learned a lot from him. When I was young, on the first Bad Boys, I dealt with people in a certain way. I was maybe standoffish or whatever. You were a little mean, interjected Smith as they both laughed. Let's be honest. Lawrence added, no, you said, your people skills are messed up. And he told me that this was on the first Bad Boys. This resonated with me all throughout the Bad Boys we did. I'm so glad that I've grown in that way, and he's helped me in that way. Marty Marr is like the smoothest, sweetest, easiest. He's just mellowed, detailed Smith on their newest experience together. He added, and he was stopping me on set this whole movie. He was like, hey, just slow down. We're here. We are not going to rush through this like we did the other ones. We're going to enjoy this time. And it was such a beautiful thing. He just over and over, literally 15 times in this movie, he was like, just take it down and let's make sure we enjoy this time. And it was beautiful. Bad Boys, Ride or Die is due in theaters on June 7th, 2024. Alongside Smith and Lawrence, the movie stars Vanessa Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig, Paula Nunez, Eric Dane, Tiffany Haddish, and more. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for the movie? Let us know in the comment section below. And that's it from us today. Until next time, thank you for watching.